All right. Hello, hello, hello there. My name is Dandy, and this is the first video of my new video series, which I will do for my own brand, Spicy Trading. And today we are going to take a look at a few different charts. I'm going to give you a small overview over what I think about the market. And yeah, you can expect these videos to come up every week now and also on special market events that will interfere with our tradings. First things first, let's talk a little bit about the trading system we apply. So, as you immediately will recognize, there are no indicators on my chart. So, we are using a purely price action based trading strategy over here, which is kind of harder to learn because you don't have any indicators to base your opinion on. But once you learned it, you can apply it on every chart and on every time frame. For me, it's definitely worth the effort. So let's start here first with one more recommendation of mine, which is if you want to become a trader yourself and you want to get into the right mindset of what it means to be a trader, I will definitely recommend you go ahead and read In the Zone from Mark Douglas. It's a not too long book from someone who definitely has a lot of experience in trading, especially in training other traders and getting them to adapt to the right mindset. Because in the end, even if your strategy is perfect, as long as you don't manage to control your emotions, you will lose money here. And to avoid that, we just try to keep our emotions on the sideline. So, first things first, let's start with, at least in my opinion, the most important chart, at least if you want to trade more than just Bitcoin, and that is the Bitcoin dominance chart. We will always start with this chart because I think this chart is very good to see macro trends. So, first things first, what we see here. This is the monthly chart of the Bitcoin dominance. That means this last spike here was the where we changed from 2020 to 2021. This was New Year's Eve. This was December to January, and this is the path Bitcoin dominance took so far. What we can definitely see is Bitcoin dominance went for a low zone, a very low zone indeed, a zone that wasn't even visible on monthly. And now, since then, since it got tested multiple times and it reflected off, we have started to see it break every important level on the way up. I still expect for us to see this upper zone here. To be precise, I'm talking about this zone here. I think this might be the most important zone to watch out for. This is the point where once Bitcoin dominance reaches it, I think we can expect a major flip in the liquidity, which means that we will have a lot more liquidity going into altcoins, going into smaller caps. Yeah, and just Bitcoin holding the price level. Just what we saw on the last run up when Bitcoin held the 60K mark roughly, and all the altcoins ran like crazy. So, what I would do to recognize if we do have a reversal incoming or not is just look for the fitting pattern. So far, there's nothing of importance to my eye visible here, like literally nothing. It's just a very good uptrend that retested multiple times the lower points earlier, and I still expect a move to the upside here. So my target is still 63.94% Bitcoin dominance, which is still another 6%, but I think it's not far off if we take a look at where we're coming from. I mean, Bitcoin is coming from around 40%. This is 18 now, it's another 6. It's not even that much. It's like one third. One third to go, and or one fourth, yeah. And I think so. It's gonna happen. So that's the Bitcoin dominance for now. What this means is that we do not want to invest into altcoins right now. Of course, we could do gambles and buy altcoins in this a higher region here, especially before we see a reversal pattern. But that would just open up our equity to a lot of speculation and possibly to a lot of downside if some altcoins do not manage to survive into the next cycle. And to prepare ourselves against that, we only buy Bitcoin right now if we want to buy a crypto token. Me personally, I rather just trade now short and extend my spot holdings once we see an actual buy-in pattern that we can capitalize on. So that's Bitcoin dominance for you. Let's head over to a macro view of Bitcoin itself. Please don't get scared by all the zones here. It is a little bit cluttered, but you will see that it's very well structured. Definitely, no. Firstly, everything we see, all the green zones, are buy setups that have not been hit yet. If they become filled with yellow, then they are already hit, just like this one here above, so it's no longer valid. The border just describes if it was a buy or a sell, and sometimes there are rules where our buy and sell setups flip. So if that happens, I will mark the box just like here with a white filling. It still will include the original color in the outline, but the box will change to a white one. So let's take a look at the weekly Bitcoin chart. What do we see? We see we have good recovery. We see we broke the all-time high. We reflected off resistances that were painted here, definitely. And now we just have to look into a lower time frame, because on the weekly, this here is the setup I'm mostly eyeing at the moment. It's a weekly setup, which means it's quite strong, but it lacks engulfment in higher time frames. What do I mean by engulfing? If we switch to the monthly now, I would like to see a full body candle break through this buy setup from the lower point. But we don't see that. We only see two wicks dipping into this buy zone, and the wick of the buy candle, which is smaller itself, is also smaller. The wick is also less pronounced. So this makes it for me a very weak buy setup. I would not rely on that, which I won't. So if we go back to the weekly now, we can see our last buy and we can see our last two shorts we had here. So let's switch to daily and inspect this. What have we seen here? I expected this here to be a short setup because we did have a high, a low. We then printed a higher high and a lower low that broke the previous structure low. Quite good. What didn't happen was that the high broke above the previous high, so this wasn't a significant high. That's mainly the reason why this short setup failed. What did it mean for us that it failed? So we went short at the bottom of this box here, and then we got stopped out just above it. That was this candle here. Once price action returned though to our entry, which was then the upper border of this here and the lower border, we could go to a long position here. That's why I said QMC sell flip to QMM buy. So QMC is a Quasimodo continuation, and QMM means in this case a Quasimodo manipulation. So manipulation are setups that flip in direction. We saw that, and we made a very nice long from 62,100 all the way up to 68,100. That's where I took most of my profits, just before this box here. And then we saw a first reaction, and then we hit the upper zone, which is a 4-hour setup, and got another reaction. So what are we doing now? Right now we are long from this point, and we also have a hedge short from this point here. I will keep that short, because why should I close the position if there is no reversal pattern or continuation pattern visible? Right now, the price is in a zone that we cannot take any more conclusions from, because all the previous setups, this one here, this one here, this one here, they all got hit. and they already took the liquidity. So there's only, oh look, I forgot to mark this. So there's only like one sell setup above, which I identified. This is a hourly and this is a 4-hour zone. It hit both. So we either gonna see a very good reaction from those setups now and drop to something like 63, 130. Or if we don't see that, we will just continue from here. Either way, it's either gonna hit my stop loss from my short here and increase my long position, or it's gonna take a little bit of the winnings of my long position, which I opened down here, and I can print on the short. Either way, we will play both sides. So for now, it is quite a good place in the chart to open a short position, because we are sitting at resistance, and we do expect these resistances to at least push us down one more time to take out lower liquidity, to get buyers liquidated that went long all the way on the push up, and then we can finally move to a new price region if Bitcoin wants to continue higher. Because, and that is the last thing I want to give you for a macro analysis on Bitcoin, if we take a look at the weekly chart again, you will see that we don't not only have this setup up here, but we also have this setup up here, which is my most important setup so far, and this here as well. This is a weekly setup inside of a monthly setup. This here is a weekly setup and a daily setup inside of a monthly setup. And this also would fit with my Elliott wave count, which I'm not a professional at by any means, but it's enough to determine market direction. So I would suggest, if you want to buy Bitcoin and you want to hold it for a long time, get some Bitcoin at these levels here, 58,400 to 55, 56 maybe, something like this. Exact numbers are on screen. I would get more Bitcoin at this level, the 42. And then if it's ever possible, I would really heavily load at 37,750. Just like load the shit out of it. This is the best case buy-in one can reach. This is actually the buy-in zone that got already taken out on Ethereum. But we will take a look at that right now. First things first, let's take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. We finally hit our marked buy setup, which is also very weak. So we will have to go to the monthly here again. There's not much to see on this chart. There's a rising trend line that got broken down. There's a huge resistance forming up here, like in the 0.07 area. And yeah, we have these two buy setups though. This is the first one, which is based on this. There's a pump candle, there's a sell candle and another pump candle. I call that rally, base, rally. And if this rally, base, rally candle is in line with a previous strong resistance, which we touched here multiple times and here, it will become a support and resistance flip. So this is an SNRC, support and resistance continuation. And I do expect the price to bounce a little bit off here, but usually those setups are weaker than what we have below, because this setup here below is a Quasimodo continuation with a low, high, lower low and a very extended higher high. So this has way more liquidity, especially if we take a look and extend this over to the left. We can see that this area is also tested from the downside, which makes it even more bullish. So I would rely on Ethereum to bounce really hard once it reached this area. This also means that we will see more downside on Ethereum, or we will see stagnation on Ethereum with a price increase in Bitcoin, because either of those two will result in the Ethereum Bitcoin chart to drop more. So let's get into ETH itself. Let me just get rid of this graphics. Some people, they want funny graphics. So let's take a look at this. If we go to the weekly, because I already wrote something here. Yeah. Okay, we can start with higher time frames. So what do we see? We see that this zone here, this low that was formed, already got hit here. We also see that the structure on Ethereum is way cleaner than on Bitcoin. It does better backtesting, so to speak, of lower regions. That's what made me trade Ethereum far more often. But due to Bitcoin dominance being so high now, I will just like to trade Bitcoin because it's at this point the more beautiful chart. So, and what do we see here? We do see a monthly huge resistance forming, which is on this level here. So let's mark it out. It's a kind of a jank setup because this wick here, this high, is higher than the wick on the higher high. So we can mark that as a sell setup. But we will have to note that this is weak. Okay? It's weak because our first resistance had a higher high in the chart than our full candle close higher high, which we don't like. We want this wick here to be longer than this wick, but it isn't. It's okay, it's just a note for us that we should start to take some profits on Ethereum at this point. Let's go to lower time frames and see if we can spot any good entrances. Because, of course, there is still this 20029 or 20030. Very, very important level. Has not been tested yet. It's again a strong resistance, which price broke down from after the dump. And then price broke through it. It made a sell-off candle in between pump candles, which means we have a lot of liquidity lying in this zone here, and we can actually capitalize on that. So let's go into weekly. Yeah, what we see here. So this box here has the same problem because you can see it has a very long wick. It has the same problem as this box up here, where the wick is higher than the second high. Here the wick is lower than the second low, which makes this also very weak. And this won't be active anyways until we manage to claim the purple line and manage to break it with not only a wick, but also a candle close. So for now, I don't see any nice buy setups on Ethereum, at least not on the weekly. All of them got hit. We just expect lower zones here still. Let's take a look at the daily. Maybe we manage to spot something here. So we see for sure there's a descending trend line here on the daily. And there's also a rising trend line on the daily, which forms some sort of a compression. So let's mark that out and see if we can determine the price action here. So I will put a line here and I will also put a line here. To me, the most important thing is to only use the line chart for this, because especially on products that offer leverage trading, those charts can sometimes get a little bit, let's say scruffed up because of liquidations and everything. What do we see? We see perfect price compression. We do see price breaking out now to the upside. Normally, the first breakout is a fake out. So I do expect price to maybe pump a little bit higher, then reflect down and lose the lower trend line, the rising trend line. And once it did that, it will create a new macro low. Then we can retrace to the current position and finally drop from there to new lows. At least that's what I would be expecting here. We did have a buy, a sell setup here, which is already hit, which was this one here. It's graphed up like this. So this was our first sell setup. As you can see, it's a high, it's a low, it's a higher high with a lower low. Yeah, we had all the compression and everything, and we see quite a strong reaction. So we tapped into the short setup here, and then price reacted very nicely. Price took out this zone, which is most important for me because this would have been my first take profit. And when hitting the first take profit, our stop loss is moved to the entry, which means we would have got stopped out on the next day on this candle here, and then just made a small profit here. So this setup got taken out already. Let's see if we have anything else here. So we do have a buy setup here, of course. That's also waiting. This here. Still in play. Did not get hit yet. What else do we see? This one here already got hit. So there was also a low, high, lower low, extended higher high. And then price action perfectly bounced from this zone here. So let's mark this as already hit. Oh, it's not blue, it's yellow. And then we can see if those setups had engulfment. So if we go to the weekly and we can see this setup here, there was no black candle. It was just a fat white candle. That's good for us. This setup here, however, does not have the same characteristics. So there's only a small white candle with a wick. There's no big body. So this zone is definitely weaker than the lower one, which is okay for us. It's just something to keep track of. So let's take a look. Is there anything else? We already had this here. This setup. It could have been classified as one. It even worked out. It's actually insane. Look at it. The stop loss would have been so sloppy because of the wick length. We had a low, a high, a lower low, and a higher high. And then we had a retrace and another perfect reaction. Very good. It kind of looks like Ethereum is behaving well again. So on my next video, I will include more Ethereum technical analysis and also give zones for entry and exits, which we did on Bitcoin, but we didn't do on Ethereum this time. My only buy setup that I spot here that I really like is the lower one at 242175 with a stop loss just below 240, maybe 23950 or something like this. And then we also have a take profit zone that will be formed probably at the current area. If we manage to break above this turquoise line, be prepared to long at this area. Be prepared to long at 257819. That's a good area to then ride the pump to our next short setup, because we do have huge short setups on Ethereum, which we don't have on Bitcoin. For example, this perfect weekly short, there's nothing like this on Bitcoin, which makes me think that we might see a retracement, a little bit of a pump on Ethereum, maybe on some altcoins. This would result in Bitcoin dominance to be able to retrace back down to like 57 and then bounce again, go for another leg up, and Ethereum in this case will just start to break down from this zone again, and then we can see if we have a buy setup here or if we have to go for lower targets. So that's what I'm thinking about Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance and the Ethereum Bitcoin chart for now. I would like to end the current episode because it's already 24 minutes long. I would like to end the current episode with a little bit of technical analysis on SPX because, and I do not make a secret out of this, I thought SPX would already reverse here. So on my charts we had reversal setups, which should have worked out, but it didn't. Interestingly though, you can see what I told earlier about the Quasimodo manipulation. Yeah, we had a high, then we had a low, we had a higher high, and we had a lower low that broke the trend line. We then retraced to the high and we broke it. And then we retraced again and we went long at this point here. We went long at 562451, and we could ride that, and we can still ride that. So there's another short setup that formed here that had no engulfment. And yeah, I do expect the SPX to turn around in the near future because there's just huge liquidity waiting lower. Let's take a look at macro. So we do see this here. A insane amount of liquidity is waiting at 3,339 and 50 points. There is a lot of liquidity waiting. It is the liquidity that started to push us during COVID. And it will get taken out at some point. The question only is, when do we sell our stocks, if we hold stocks? For me, I already sold most of my stocks when we reached the SPX at 5454. That was kind of my imaginary target. I still keep some Tesla, but yeah, we will have to keep a very peeled eye on the chart and spot a reversal pattern here on the daily. See if it plays out, and if it does play out, be prepared to exit all our stocks and get better entries on most of them. So for now, my SP 500 prediction is that we will still go higher. As weird as it sounds, I think we will see new highs once again, and then maybe a retest of the 5,630 point area, maybe a little bit higher, maybe only retest the 5,720 or 30 points. And then if we lose that, we will see. We will have a new technical analysis based on the price action we see then. For now, since the price is in an area where we don't have past data, there is nothing really to analyze here. Of course, we could take a Fibonacci extension or stuff like this, or adapt our Elliott wave count on this chart, try to predict the price, where it will go. But I don't think it's a smart move. I think we should just wait for a clear reversal pattern to be printed, which is very easily spottable, and then we can sell off if we want to. So there's one more thing I would like to show you, another macro chart I like to look at, and that's the Dixie. It's the dollar strength index. What do we see here? Well, people think Dixie is going to rally. I don't think so. To me, Dixie looks super bearish. I think once we reach this area here, let me just mark it out. I think we will reflect down once again, and then the US will finally face the recession it has to face anyways. I'm not gonna get political here. There's no place in technical analysis for any sort of ideology or politics. And I do not think that news make the chart. The chart makes the news. That's what I've been getting from my trading experience. So yeah, just be prepared of what happens in the upcoming, yeah, let's say 2 to 3, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, when the Dixie reaches 104,275 to 104,976. Keep the eyes peeled, guys. There will be a news event, and we will have a huge and massive drop. Yeah. Watch out for that. That's it from me. Stay safe. I want you all to have a great trading week. Don't trade what you can't lose. Don't get too emotional. And remember, guys, gatekeeping in this community is the worst. Share your ideas, share your knowledge, share your profits if you want with good friends. Just be humble, share it, and yeah, let's win this together. See you next week.